This is your Weather Xtreme video for Sunday, June the 15th. Happy Father's Day. I'm meteorologist Brian Peters. There's a look at the Skycam network and a beautiful sunrise shot from Mount Cheaha, highest point in the state of Alabama at 2,407 feet. And certainly a nice little patch of what appears to be rather high clouds this morning. And at Fultondale, we see that the sky appears to be primarily clear. High pressure at the surface is responsible for good weather along the east coast of the United States, and temperatures across central Alabama this morning dipping back into the upper 60s for the most part. A few spots in the Tennessee River Valley in the mid 60s, and down across the south part of the state they're around 70 degrees. In the upper atmosphere, the high-pressure system is beginning to build in from Texas, and that expected to create a pretty good ridge axis, generally from about Houston to Chicago, roughly, over the next week or so. And as a result, that's going to keep things pretty well subdued in the way of showers and rain for the southeastern United States. A few more showers along the coast, as you can see from the rainfall estimates, and much of the traveling weather systems along the northern tier of the United States and up in the Great Lakes, where they're forecasting as much as 3 to 4 inches of rain over the next 5 days. Also in that area, the Storm Prediction Center is outlooking a slight risk area from generally in the vicinity of Amarillo across parts of Oklahoma and Kansas, up across Missouri and Illinois to the southern Lake Michigan for day 1. Day 2, the slight risk area shifts back a little further to the west and northwest into Iowa primarily and parts of South Dakota and Nebraska. And then on day 3, there is no specific slight risk area, but it still looks like there's a risk across the north-central part of the state for some isolated storms. And the tropics, believe it or not, remain rather quiet, at least for the Atlantic Basin. In the meantime, Christina has downgraded to a tropical storm in the southeast Pacific and is expected to downgrade further. There's a look this morning at the GFS model run, the 06Z GFS model run, and the precipitable water is down a little bit. So I think just like we saw yesterday, this is the forecast for today, about midday, about 1 o'clock. I think we'll see, once again, the possibility of an isolated shower, but for the most part, we stay dry. And, of course, the GFS model run forecast for the surface indicating that. In the upper atmosphere, we see the ridge build in, and let's just use Chicago as a good point. You can see the 588 contour getting close to Chicago up there. That means over the southeastern U.S. that we're not going to see any kind of air mass change, therefore just daily showers. At Tuesday, we see that the 588 contour has reached Chicago, so you can see that the ridge is definitely building northward and extending up from eastern Texas up into the Great Lakes area. On Wednesday, we see the 588 contour just a little bit north of Chicago, so that certainly means warm weather over much of the eastern half of the country. Thursday, we are beginning to see some changes, not major changes, but some changes, and that is that the strong trough and close low coming out of the northern Rockies is beginning to beat down the ridge just a little bit. Doesn't look like it's going to beat it down a lot, and that means no real air mass change for us. So the result is that we're going to stay in the possibility of scattered, isolated to scattered showers basically every single day. Friday, we can see that closed low over the Dakotas is beating down the ridge somewhat. You can see the 588 contour now down just north of Memphis, and it was up just north of Chicago. So it gives you an idea of how much the ridge is being beaten down. By Saturday, we can see that there's not a lot of changes going on as that closed low meanders over the Dakotas. And then by Sunday, a week from today, we can see now that the ridge is getting a little, what I'd call kind of confused, maybe even a bit of a dirty ridge, because the ridge it's not as clean and crisp looking as we saw for the first part of the week. And that still doesn't mean that anything's going to change for us as we stay in showers. And the GFS is still showing down there in the tropics here on Sunday, the 22nd of June, the possibility of some tropical mischief. But the GFS definitely not as bullish on it as it has been for the last several days. And there's a look out into voodoo country, the 24th. Excuse me. And the GFS has been hinting at possibility of a trough over the eastern half of the country, and indeed that looks like that could come about. And when we get out to further into voodoo country around the 28th, the end of June, once again the trough not as sharp as it was showing yesterday, but certainly the indication of a troughiness over the eastern half of the country. And one of the things that opens for us is this northwesterly flow, and we'll have to be watching for mesoscale convective systems, or MCSs, that develop up in the central plains and move long distances overnight and can impact our weather. But that's too far out into voodoo country to try to forecast. Well, that'll do it for the Weather Extreme video for this Father's Day, June 15th. James Spann will be back in the saddle once again on Monday morning with the next edition of the Weather Extreme video. I hope that your day is a great one. Godspeed.
Thank you for trusting us to be your #1 source for news
in all of Central Alabama.
in back-to-back ratings periods.
More people watched ABC 3340
than any other station in Birmingham.